The stars shimmered against the vast darkness of space as the massive Galactic Council ship entered Earth's orbit. It was nearly twice the size of the largest human space station, its sleek design unlike anything humans had built. The year was 2157, and after decades of searching the stars, humanity finally had their answer. They were not alone. On the observation deck of the United Earth Government headquarters in Geneva, Ambassador Franklin Hayes watched the alien vessel with a mix of wonder and caution. At 52, Hayes had spent most of his career in diplomatic service, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. He straightened his blue formal uniform and took a deep breath. "Ambassador, they're requesting to begin the welcome ceremony," said his assistant, passing him a tablet with the carefully prepared greeting protocols. Hayes nodded. "Let's hope all our practice pays off." Across the solar system, military vessels maintained their positions, careful to appear non-threatening, while staying close enough to respond if needed. Aboard the UES Defender, Captain Olivia Martinez monitored the situation with her crew. "Status report," she said, her voice calm despite the historic tension of the moment. "All systems normal, Captain," replied her first officer. "Council ship maintains orbit position. No unusual energy readings." Martinez nodded, her brown eyes fixed on the display showing the alien vessel. She had fought in the water wars of the 2130s and knew that peace was precious and fragile. Now humanity faced something entirely new. "Keep our posture friendly but alert," she ordered. "Remember what the briefing said. These council races value calm and order." The first meeting between humans and the Galactic Council representatives took place in a specially constructed dome on neutral ground outside Geneva. 7 different alien species made up the council delegation, each more strange than the last. The leader was High Counselor Zexthar, a tall, gray-skinned being with 4 arms and eyes that changed color as he spoke. "We welcome Earth to the galactic community," Zexthar said through the translation device. "Your world has been observed for some time, and we believe you are ready to join our peaceful collective." Hayes performed the practice greeting perfectly, his gestures measured and respectful. "Humanity is honored by your welcome and looks forward to peaceful exchange between our peoples." The meeting continued for hours as basic information was exchanged. The Council explained their role in maintaining peace among over 300 spacefaring species across the galaxy. They spoke of trade routes, scientific exchange, and the laws that governed interstellar relations. What Hayes noticed, but did not mention, was how often the Council representatives exchanged glances when humans spoke of their hopes for the future. Something about their reactions felt off, but he couldn't place what it was. Later that evening, in the private chamber assigned to the Council delegation, Zexthar met with the other representatives. "These humans are exactly as our studies suggested," he said, his eyes pulsing a confident blue. "They approach with extreme caution. Did you see how carefully their ships maintain distance? How measured their responses are?" A reptilian council member named Krell clicked his teeth in agreement. "Their history shows they fear conflict. The last century of their development has been marked by decreasing military spending and increasing cooperation." "This is good," said Zexthar. "A peaceful species is welcome in the Council. They will accept our guidance and protection, as many young species do." What the Council failed to understand was the context of humanity's recent history. After nearly destroying themselves in the climate disasters and resource wars of the early 22nd century, humans had indeed turned toward cooperation and peace. But this wasn't because they feared war, it was because they respected its terrible cost. The Council's research had noted humanity's reduced military spending, but missed how they had developed more efficient technologies. They observed international cooperation, but failed to recognize how this had eliminated wasteful competition and created more effective defense systems. They saw a planet focused on environmental restoration and scientific advancement, not realizing these efforts were built on hard-learned lessons from past conflicts. Over the next week, negotiations proceeded for Earth to join the Galactic Council. Hayes and his team worked tirelessly, reviewing the complex agreements that would shape humanity's place among the stars. In a secure communication room, Hayes spoke with the United Earth Security Council, led by President Lily Morgan. They seem peaceful enough, Hayes reported, but there's something in their attitude that concerns me. They treat us like children who need protection. What's your assessment of their military capability? Asked General Vincent Diaz, the head of Earth's defense forces. Far beyond ours in scale, Hayes admitted, but they seem complacent. They haven't fought a major conflict in over 500 years according to their own history. President Morgan's expression remained neutral. Continue as planned, Ambassador. Accept their offers of friendship and knowledge exchange, but let's keep our cards close to our chest for now. Unknown to the humans, similar conversations were happening aboard distant ships at the edge of Council space. The Vexillar Empire, a predatory species that had been contained by Council forces for centuries, had detected the new diplomatic activity around Earth. Fleet Commander Grax of the Vexillar studied the intercepted data about humanity with hungry interest. Unlike the Council, the Vexillar were warriors who respected strength. They had been looking for a weakness in Council defenses, and perhaps these humans would provide it. Their world is resource-rich, Grax told his war council. And according to Council chatter, they are peaceful to the point of weakness. The Council believes they fear war. His second-in-command bared her fangs in a smile. Then they will make an easy first conquest when we resume our expansion. Not immediately, Grax cautioned. We will watch. We will test. The Council is often wrong about new species. But if these humans are as passive as they believe, we may have found our opportunity. As the official welcome ceremony concluded on Earth, Captain Martinez received new orders from command. The UES Defender would be assigned to patrol the newly established trade route between Earth and the nearest Council hub world. They think we're harmless, her first officer commented, after reading the Council's diplomatic assessment that had been shared with Earth's leadership. Martinez checked to ensure their communication was private before responding. Let them think what they want. We've learned the hard way that peace works best when you're prepared for its opposite. She looked out at the stars, new possibilities and new dangers now present among them. The Council claims there hasn't been a major war in Council space for 5 centuries. That's a nice streak. Let's hope it continues. But in her orders was a quiet directive to assess Council military capabilities and defensive systems during their patrol duties. Peace was humanity's goal, but history had taught them to hope for the best while preparing for anything less. 6 months passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Human ships now traveled established trade routes, and knowledge exchange programs brought new technologies to Earth. The Council provided defense ships to patrol human space, as they did for all developing members. Everything seemed peaceful on the surface. The colony of New Horizon was humanity's furthest outpost, a small settlement of 8,000 people on a resource-rich planet. Morning sunlight spread across the main colony dome as Governor Richard Wilson reviewed the day's schedule in his office. Wilson, a former engineer with graying hair at his temples, had helped build this colony from nothing 5 years ago. Governor, we have an urgent message from the orbital station, his assistant said, rushing into the room. Wilson looked up from his screens. What is it? Unidentified ships just appeared at the edge of our system. They're not responding to hails. Wilson's face hardened. The Council had warned about occasional pirates and raiders, but assured Earth that such threats were minor and easily handled by Council peacekeepers. Alert, Colonial Security Chief Summers. Implement Security Protocol 3, Wilson ordered calmly, and send a distress signal to the Council patrol station in the next system. Across the colony, alert signals sounded. People moved quickly but without panic to designated safety areas. This wasn't the first drill they had practiced, though it was the first real threat. In the colony security center, Chief Alan Summers organized his team. At 48, Summers had spent 20 years in the Marines before taking this position. His experience told him this was no ordinary situation. How many ships? He asked his sensor operator. 7 confirmed, sir. Configuration unknown, but definitely armed. Summers studied the incoming data. Time until they reach orbit? About 3 hours at current speed. Summers nodded. We have time to prepare. Order all security personnel to defense positions. Begin Evacuation of critical personnel and research data to the emergency bunkers. What neither Wilson nor Summers knew was that a Council observation ship was already in the system, deliberately holding position behind New Horizons' moon. On board, Council military observer Kithral watched the situation unfold. The human colony has detected the Vexlar scout fleet, Kithral reported to his superiors via secure channel. They've initiated defense protocols and sent a distress signal. Acknowledged, came the response. Maintain observation status. This is an excellent opportunity to assess human crisis response. Our intervention force will delay arrival by 12 hours to provide adequate observation time. Kithral confirmed his orders, though uneasiness stirred within him. The Council had categorized this as a controlled situation, but the Vexillar were unpredictable. Still, orders were orders, and the Council had maintained peace for centuries with their methods. The Vexillar ships entered orbit around New Horizon 3 hours later. Their vessels were jagged and asymmetrical, designed to inspire fear. When communications finally opened, a harsh voice demanded the colony's surrender. This territory now belongs to the Vexillar Empire, the alien commander stated. Submit and you may serve. Resist and you will be eliminated. From his command center, Governor Wilson responded firmly. This is a recognized human colony under Galactic Council protection. We have alerted Council forces. Any hostile action will be met with consequences. The Vexillar commander laughed, a grating sound. The Council? They are hours away. You have no defenses that concern us. You have 1 hour to surrender before we begin our attack. The transmission ended. Wilson turned to Summers, who stood nearby. They seem very confident, Wilson said. Summers nodded grimly. Too confident. They know something we don't. He paused. Sir, I think the Council forces might not be coming as quickly as we hope. What makes you say that? Instinct, and the fact that our long-range sensors picked up an energy signature behind the moon that matches Council ship profiles. They're watching us. Wilson's expression darkened. You think they're letting this happen? I think we should assume we're on our own for now, Summers replied, and plan accordingly. Wilson made a quick decision. Implement Defense Plan Echo. We're not surrendering this colony. The next hour was a flurry of activity, while some colonists continued evacuating to underground shelters. Others manned defense positions. What the Vexillar and observing Council forces didn't fully appreciate was that human colonies, especially distant ones like New Horizon, were designed with defense in mind. Hidden weapon emplacements emerged from what looked like ordinary structures. Defensive shields, more advanced than the Council realized humans possessed, powered up around key areas. The civilian militia, comprised of colonists who had regular defense training, took their positions alongside the professional security forces. When the Vexillar launched their first attack wave, they expected minimal resistance. Instead, their shuttles met concentrated fire from multiple defense points. 2 Vexillar landing craft were destroyed before they even touched the surface. From his hidden observation post, Kithral watched with surprise. The humans are offering more resistance than anticipated, he reported. Their defensive capabilities exceed our intelligence estimates. Continue observation, came the reply. This data is valuable. On the colony surface, the battle intensified. Vexillar forces that managed to land found themselves fighting for every meter of ground. Summers led a team that ambushed a Vexillar unit trying to reach the colony's power center. They fight without discipline, Summers told his squad after they repelled the attack. They expected us to panic. Use that against them. By the end of the first day, the Vexillar had secured only a small foothold at the colony's edge. Their commander, furious at the unexpected resistance, ordered orbital bombardment of the main colony dome. The shields held, though power reserves dropped to concerning levels. Governor Wilson, directing operations from the Emergency Command Center, received worrying news. Shield generators can't take another hit like that, the engineer reported. Maybe 2 more hours at most. Wilson nodded. That's all we need. Implement Phase 2 of the evacuation. All non-essential personnel to the deep bunkers. Security forces prepare for strategic withdrawal to secondary positions. The second day brought heavier Vexillar attacks. They had learned from their initial failures and adapted their approach. They targeted power systems and communication arrays, slowly weakening the colony's ability to resist. Summers, now coordinating the defense from a mobile command unit, saw the pattern. "They're not just trying to take the colony anymore," told Wilson over a secure channel. "They're angry. This was supposed to be easy for them." "Council reinforcements?" Wilson asked. "Still no sign," Summers replied. "We need to consider the possibility they won't arrive in time." Wilson made another difficult decision. "Begin preparation for Operation Scorched Ground. If we can't hold the colony, they won't benefit from taking it." By the third day, it was clear the colony couldn't hold much longer. But instead of a desperate last stand, Summers organized a fighting retreat. Key personnel and data had already been evacuated to hidden bunkers deep underground. Critical technology had either been removed or rigged for destruction. When the Vexillar finally broke through to the central dome, expecting to claim valuable resources and prisoners, they instead found abandoned positions and triggered demolition charges. As Council forces finally arrived on the scene, they were surprised to find not the expected devastation, but a coordinated human operation still in progress. Summers and his remaining forces were executing the final phase of their withdrawal, preserving 70% of their combat strength while denying the Vexillar any meaningful victory. Council Commander Zivtal approached Governor Wilson, who was directing evacuation ships from a hidden command post. "We expected to find your colony destroyed," Zivtal admitted. Wilson looked at the alien with cool eyes. "You expected wrong. We don't surrender what's ours, and we don't make conquering our homes easy." As the Council forces finally engaged the Vexillar driving them from the system, Kithro filed his observation report. Human defensive capability, impressive for their development level. Tactical adaptation, notable. Preservation of forces, efficient. He paused before adding the final assessment. Overall approach, purely defensive. They show no appetite for offensive operations or escalation. The Council's assessment stands. They fear war itself, though they defend well when forced. What Kithral failed to notice were the encrypted transmissions leaving New Horizon, carrying detailed data about Vexillar weapons, tactics, and ship capabilities back to Earth. Nor did he detect the quiet fury building among human military leadership. As they received the colony's reports, the first test had come, and humanity was learning. The attack on New Horizon was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, 3 more human colonies faced Vexillar raids. Each time, the pattern was the same. Council forces arrived late, humans defended with unexpected skill, and the Vexillar retreated, but not before causing significant damage. Admiral Samantha Reeves stood at the viewport of the UES Independence, watching as rescue ships brought survivors from the latest attack. At 55, Reeves had steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen enough war on Earth to know it was coming again among the stars. 217 dead, said Captain Eric Donovan, handing her the latest report. Plus 43 missing. The colony's main agricultural dome is destroyed. Reeves took the tablet without a word, her face grim as she scrolled through the details. This was the 4th attack in 2 months. Each one pushed deeper into human space, each one grew bolder. "The Council response?" she asked. "The usual. They arrived 6 hours after the Vexillar left, offered medical assistance and promised increased patrols." Donovan's voice held barely controlled anger. Reeves handed the tablet back. "They're using us as bait, Eric. The Council has contained the Vexillar for centuries using the same strategy. Let them raid, observe their patterns, then maintain defensive lines just strong enough to discourage major offensives. But they're not the ones dying," Donovan said. "No, they're not." Reeves turned from the viewport. "Prepare my shuttle. I need to speak with Defense Secretary Parker in person." In Washington, D.C., the United Earth Defense Council gathered in Didon, a secure underground facility. The room was plain and functional, with a large central table and screens covering the walls. Secretary of Defense William Parker, A tall man with dark skin and a serious demeanor stood at the head of the table. "Admiral Reeves has confirmed what we suspected," Parker told the assembled officials. "The Council is deliberately allowing these Vexlar attacks to continue. They consider them probing actions and part of their long-term containment strategy." President Gregory Daniels, who joined via secure video link, frowned. "They're sacrificing our citizens to maintain their status quo." "Precisely, Mr. President," Parker agreed. "The Council believes the Vexillar will eventually return to their territory after testing our defenses. It's worked for them before with other new species." Admiral Reeves stepped forward. "The difference is, Mr. President, those species accepted the Council's protection and strategy. I don't believe we should." "What are you proposing, Admiral?" Daniels asked. Reeves activated the central display, showing a map of human space and neighboring systems. "The Vexlar think they're testing our weakness. The Council thinks we fear escalation. I propose we show them both how wrong they are." She highlighted several points on the map. "We've been collecting data from every raid. We now have detailed information on Vexillar ship signatures, communications patterns, and supply lines. They have 3 major staging areas they're operating from." Defense Minister Parker studied the display. "You want to strike back?" "I want to end this," Reeves corrected, "not with the Council's gradual containment but decisively." The meeting continued for hours as Reeves outlined her plan. There were concerns and objections, questions about Council treaties and regulations, but as reports of another Vexlar sighting came in, the mood in the room shifted. Finally, President Daniels spoke. "We joined the Galactic Council in good faith, seeking peaceful cooperation, but we cannot allow our people to be sacrificed for their diplomatic convenience." He paused. "Admiral Reeves, how quickly can your plan be implemented?" "We can be ready in 3 weeks, Mr. President." Daniels nodded. "Then you have authorization to proceed with Operation Silent Response, but we need to maintain appearances. Publicly, we'll continue to work within Council frameworks." 2 days later, Ambassador Hayes met with the High Council on their central world. The Great Council Chamber was a vast space with soaring ceilings and representatives from hundreds of worlds. High Councilor Zexthar presided from an elevated platform. "The United Earth government formally requests more aggressive joint operations against the Vexillar threat," Hayes stated, his voice echoing in the chamber. "Our colonies are under constant attack. The current response is insufficient." Murmurs spread through the assembled representatives. Zexthar's eyes pulsed yellow, indicating consideration. "Ambassador Hayes," he finally responded, "the Council understands your concern. However, our containment strategy has proven effective for centuries. The Vexillar test boundaries, then retreat when shown steady resistance." "People are dying, Counselor," Hayes pressed. "Regrettable but temporary," Zexthar said. "Escalation would only prolong the conflict. Our analysis shows humans fear escalation, above all. Your species' history demonstrates a clear aversion to prolonged warfare." Hayes controlled his expression carefully. "We value peace, Counselor. That is not the same as fearing war." "Nevertheless," Zexthar continued, "the Council will handle the military aspects of this situation. We have millennia of experience in maintaining galactic peace." The Council's official response, delivered later that day, denied Earth's request for joint offensive operations. It cited regulations about new member species and reiterated the Council's protection commitment. What the Council missed was the quiet activity happening throughout human space. Civilian ships were being rerouted away from border regions. Military vessels were conducting training exercises in seemingly random patterns that actually positioned them strategically. Mining operations suddenly produced more raw materials for shipyards than reported to Council oversight committees. On Earth, President Daniels addressed the United Earth Parliament in a session that was known to be monitored by Council observers. "We must continue to work within the Galactic Council framework," he stated publicly. "We must avoid direct confrontation and trust in the Council's experience." But in a classified meeting afterwards, his directive was clear. "Admiral Reeves has full operational discretion. When the Vexillar launch their next major offensive, Operation Silent Response will commence. Across human space, military commanders received encrypted orders. Captain Martinez, now commanding a battle group from the UES Defender, briefed her. Officers in a secure room swept for monitoring devices. "This stays in this room," she told them. "When the signal comes, we will not be defending. We will be taking the fight directly to the Vexillar." One young officer raised his hand. "Captain, what about council regulations? We're prohibited from offensive operations without approval." Martinez smiled thinly. "The council believes we're predictable, that we'll follow their rules even as our people die. That's an advantage we're going to use." Meanwhile, in Vexillar, Space Fleet Commander Grax reviewed the data from their raids on human colonies. "They defend well for a young species," he told his war council. "But always the same pattern. They protect their people, preserve their forces, and wait for council assistance." His second-in-command agreed. "They show no appetite for bringing the fight to us. The council assessment appears correct. They fear true war." Grax's eyes narrowed. "Then they are ready for our next phase. Prepare the main fleet. We will strike 3 human systems simultaneously. By the time the council responds, we will control those worlds and establish our new territorial boundary." What neither the council nor the Vexillar realized was that humanity had been fighting wars against itself for thousands of years. They had learned harsh lessons about conflict, and their greatest skill wasn't just defending. It was ending wars, decisively when they became necessary. As the Vexillar prepared their major offensive, human intelligence vessels tracked their movements silently. Admiral Reeves received the reports aboard her flagship, now positioned just outside council sensor range. "They're taking the bait," she told her officers. "They think they understand our patterns. They don't realize we've been mapping theirs." She looked at the tactical display showing Vexillar fleet movements and the hidden positions of human forces. "The council believes we fear war," she said quietly. "They're about to learn the difference between fearing war and being good at it." The Vexillar attack began at what humans called 0300 hours Universal Earth Time. 3 fleets jumped into human systems simultaneously: Horizon, Avalon, and Pinnacle. Each system contained a major human colony with between 10 and 15,000 people. The Vexillar expected light defenses and delayed council response, just like their previous raids. They were wrong. As the first Vexillar ships entered the Horizon system, their sensors detected unusual readings. Captain Peter Young of the UES Vigilant watched from his hidden position behind the system's 3rd moon as the enemy fleet arrived. "All ships maintain silence," he ordered over a secure channel. "Let them come all the way in." The Vexillar command ship moved deeper into the system, followed by 12 warships and numerous smaller vessels. They approached the planet where New Horizon colony had been rebuilt after the first attack. Their sensors showed minimal defenses, just as expected. Fleet Sub-Commander Kraz of the Vexillar smiled, showing sharp teeth. The humans maintain their predictable pattern. They huddle behind their shields and wait for rescue. As the Vexillar fleet reached the optimal attack position, they suddenly lost all communications with each other. At the same moment, their sensors detected multiple energy signatures activating around them. "What is this?" Kraz demanded as warning signals flashed across his command console. Outside, space itself seemed to change as hundreds of small devices activated simultaneously. The humans had spent weeks seeding the approach to their colony with stealth mines, devices that remained dormant until triggered by specific Vexillar ship signatures. "All ships, evasive action," Kraz ordered, but his transmission went nowhere. The minefield included specialized jammers that blocked all Vexillar communication frequencies. Captain Young watched as the Vexillar fleet scattered in confusion, several ships already damaged by mine detonations. "Phase 1 complete," he reported to Admiral Reeves. "Initiating Phase 2. From behind moons, asteroids, and hidden positions, human warships appeared. Unlike the defensive posture the Vexillar expected, these ships moved in aggressive attack formations. They targeted the Vexillar fleet's engines and weapon systems with precise, coordinated strikes. Similar scenes played out in the Avalon and Pinnacle systems. The Vexillar, expecting to find vulnerable colonies, instead found themselves caught in carefully prepared traps. Human forces had mapped every detail of Vexillar tactics from previous raids and designed perfect counters. Aboard the UES Independence, Admiral Reeves received reports from all three systems. Phase 2 proceeding as planned. Her communications officer reported. Vexillar fleets contained in all target systems. Begin Phase 3, Reeves ordered. Throughout human space, jump points activated as a second wave of ships departed. These weren't heading to defend the colonies. They were moving toward Vexillar space. Lieutenant Commander Kevin Russell led one of the strike teams aboard the fast attack vessel UES Swift. His mission was to target a Vexillar supply depot that human intelligence had identified. "Everyone clear on the objectives?" he asked his team as they approached the jump point. "Get in, plant the devices, get out," confirmed his second-in-command. "No direct engagement unless necessary." Russell nodded. "This isn't about destroying their base. It's about showing them we can reach them anywhere." The UES Swift and 5 other ships jumped into Vexillar territory, while the Vexillar focused their forces on what they thought was a major offensive against human colonies. These smaller human task forces struck deep behind their lines. None of this activity appeared on Council monitoring systems. Humans had studied Council sensor networks and carefully plotted courses to avoid detection. As far as the Council knew, humans were defending against another Vexillar incursion, following the expected pattern. 3 days passed. Council peacekeeping forces finally arrived at the human colonies, prepared to drive off Vexillar attackers and provide aid to battered defenders. What they found instead shocked them. Commander Vrextol of the Council peacekeeping fleet entered the Horizon system and found no ongoing battle. Instead, his sensors detected debris fields where Vexillar ships had been destroyed and others captured. The human colony showed no new damage. "What happened here?" he demanded when he established communication with the human forces. Captain Young appeared on the screen. "We addressed the threat, Commander." "This was not authorized," Vrextol stated. "Defensive actions only are permitted for new member species without Council approval." Young's expression remained neutral. "I suggest you check the other systems the Vexillar attacked. You'll find similar situations." Indeed, in all 3 systems, the Council forces discovered the same scene: defeated Vexillar fleets and intact human colonies. But more shocking news soon arrived from Vexillar space. "Impossible," High Counselor Zexthar whispered as he read the reports in the Council's emergency session. The data showed multiple strikes deep in Vexillar territory. Supply depots disabled, command centers infiltrated, navigation beacons reprogrammed, communication relays destroyed, all bearing human signatures. How could they penetrate so deeply without detection? Asked another Council member. Zexthar had no answer. The Council had monitored human space carefully since first contact. They had tracked every warship, counted every weapon, or so they thought. What they didn't know was that humans had shown them exactly what humans wanted them to see. On Earth, Defense Secretary Parker briefed President Daniels on the operation's success. "All primary objectives achieved, Mr. President. Vexillar offensive capability has been reduced by approximately 70%. Their command structure is in disarray." Daniels nodded. "Casualties?" "Minimal on our side. 27 confirmed dead, 42 injured. Vexillar losses are much higher." "And the Council?" Parker allowed himself a small smile. "Completely surprised. They're calling for an emergency session with our representatives." Meanwhile, aboard the UES Determination, Admiral Reeves watched as her fleet regrouped. The ships returning from Vexillar space docked for resupply, their missions complete. Lieutenant Commander Russell reported directly to her after his team's return. "All targets neutralized, Admiral. We left the messages as instructed." Those messages, placed in every Vexillar facility they struck, were simple. "We did not want this war. We will end it if you continue it." A Council diplomatic vessel arrived to meet with Admiral Reeves. The Council representative, a tall, blue-skinned being named Shintar, appeared uncomfortable as he was escorted to Reeves's command center. "Admiral, the Council demands an explanation for these unauthorized offensive actions," he began formally. Reeves studied him calmly. The explanation is simple. Our people were dying while the Council observed. We chose to protect them effectively, but this level of military capability. Shintar seemed at a loss for words. Your ships were never detected entering Vexillar space. Your weapons technology exceeds our estimates. This operation shows planning and execution beyond what we believed humans capable of. You believed what we allowed you to believe, Reeves replied. You studied our history, but misunderstood it. Humans don't fear war, Ambassador. We fear unnecessary war. There's a difference. As Jintar departed with data logs and formal protests, Captain Martinez approached Admiral Reeves. The Council is assembling a special investigation team, she reported. They're reviewing all their data on human capabilities. Reeves nodded. Too late to matter now. The Vexillar have been contained. More than contained, Martinez said. Our intelligence reports their empire is facing internal rebellion. Several subjugated worlds are rising up now that the Vexillar military has been weakened. Reeves looked out at the stars, thinking of the colonies that would now be safe, and the message they had sent to both the Vexillar and the Council. We didn't want this fight, she said quietly. But once it became inevitable, we ended it. That's the part of human history the Council never understood. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in stunned silence as they watched the data displays. The evidence of human military action against the Vexillar was clear and undeniable. What shocked them most was not just what humans had done, but how they had done it without detection. High Counselor Zexthar's eyes pulsed a troubled orange as he addressed the emergency session. The human response was disproportionate and unauthorized. They violated our most basic protocols on conflict resolution. Ambassador Hayes stood calmly before the Council. His gray suit was perfectly pressed, his posture relaxed but dignified. After weeks of urgent meetings and accusations, this final, public session would determine humanity's standing in the galactic community. With respect, Counselor, Hayes replied, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. We violated nothing. The Council's protection was insufficient, and Earth citizens were dying while you gathered data on our responses. He gestured, and the main display changed to show casualty figures from the months of Vexillar raids. The numbers scrolled slowly enough for all to see the hundreds of human lives lost. The Council's containment strategy may work over centuries, Hayes continued. Humanity needed a solution that worked now. A representative from the Dulari species, known for their logical approach to all matters, spoke up. The human military operation was remarkably efficient. Our analysis shows it was designed to minimize casualties on both sides while maximizing strategic impact. Zexthar's eyes flickered to blue. Nevertheless, new member species are required to coordinate all military actions with the Council. Humans acted independently and secretively. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. We acted exactly as the Council taught us to act. You observed us and drew conclusions about our capabilities and intentions. We observed you and did the same. The difference is that our observations were more accurate. The chamber filled with murmurs. What Hayes said was true. The Council had made assumptions about humanity based on limited data, while humans had studied Council protocols carefully and found the gaps in them. In the viewing gallery, Admiral Reeves watched the proceedings with President Daniels, who had made the journey to the Council world for this critical meeting. Both wore formal diplomatic attire, but Reeves still carried herself with a military bearing. They're starting to understand, Daniels said quietly. Reeves nodded, slowly, but understanding isn't the same as accepting. In the chamber below, a new figure approached the central platform. It was Kithral, the Council military observer who had watched the New Horizon colony's defense months ago. I must acknowledge an error in my assessment, Kithral stated formally. I reported that humans fought defensively because they feared war. I now believe this was incorrect. They fought defensively because they were gathering intelligence for a decisive counterstrike. Zexthar looked displeased but allowed Kithral to continue. The human operation against the Vexillar shows characteristics not of a species that fears war, but of one that respects it enough to end it quickly and decisively when it becomes necessary. Hayes inclined his head in acknowledgement. Kithral is correct. Humanity doesn't fear war, Counselor. We fear unnecessary war. We fear protracted war. Our history taught us the cost of conflict that drags on for years or decades. He gestured again, and the display changed to show data from Operation Silent Response. The precision strikes against Vexillar military targets, the careful avoidance of civilian areas, the messages left behind offering peace if the Vexillar would end their aggression. When conflict becomes inevitable, we don't wage war incrementally. We wage it decisively, with the goal of lasting peace. The council session continued for hours as the implications were debated. Eventually, a recess was called for private deliberations among the senior council members. Hayes joined Reeves and Daniels in a waiting area. "They're afraid of us now," Reeves observed. Hayes shook his head. "Not afraid. Reassessing. There's a difference." Daniels looked thoughtful. "What we need is for them to understand that our approach could benefit the council, not threaten it." Meanwhile, in another part of the council complex, an unexpected meeting was taking place. A delegation from the Vexillar Empire had arrived under a flag of truce. Their military humbled and their empire facing internal rebellion, they requested peace negotiations, with human representatives present. The Vexillar lead negotiator, a battle-scarred veteran named Thrak, faced Admiral Reeves across a small table. "Your species surprised us," Thrak said bluntly. "We thought you weak because you sought peace." "A common mistake," Reeves replied. "Peace is a choice, not a limitation." Thrak nodded slowly. "We have learned this lesson at great cost. The Vexillar will withdraw from contested systems and cease all raids on council worlds, including human colonies. "And the worlds within your empire that seek independence?" Reeves asked. Thrak's expression hardened briefly, then relaxed into resignation. "We will negotiate new relationships with them, without council interference." "With council observation," Reeves corrected. After a tense moment, Thrak agreed. The preliminary peace terms were established remarkably quickly. The Vexillar, despite their warrior culture, recognized when they had met a force they couldn't overcome. Better to make peace now than face more of humanity's decisive warfare. When the full council reconvened, the atmosphere had changed. "Kite." Councillor Zexathar's eyes now pulsed a calm blue as he addressed the assembly. "The council has reviewed all evidence and consulted with all affected parties. We have also received the Vexillar request for peace negotiations with human participation." He paused, looking directly at Hayes. "It seems humanity's approach, while unorthodox, has achieved in days what our containment strategy would have taken decades to accomplish." A formal ruling followed. Earth would not be penalized for independent military action, given the exceptional circumstances. Instead, the Council would establish a new security committee with human representatives. Playing a key role, the committee would review and potentially reform Council defense protocols. After the session, Zexthar approached Hayes, Daniels, and Reeves privately. "Your species remains puzzling to me," the High Counselor admitted. "You build monuments to peace, yet design weapons of remarkable precision. You speak of cooperation, yet plan for conflict. You value diplomacy, yet excel at warfare." President Daniels smiled. "These aren't contradictions, Counselor. They're complementary aspects of the same principle. We work hardest for peace precisely because we understand war. The Council has maintained galactic stability for millennia," Zexthar noted. "We have much to teach humanity about long-term harmony. And perhaps we have something to teach you about addressing immediate threats," Reeves suggested. "Together we might create something better than either approach alone." In the days that followed, a new defense treaty was signed. Council Military. Observer Kithral, now promoted to liaison with human forces, worked closely with Admiral Reeves to integrate the best aspects of both approaches. Human tactical thinking and decisive action would be combined with Council diplomatic experience and long-term strategy. As Ambassador Hayes signed the final document, he looked up at the gathered representatives of 100 worlds. The council claimed humans feared war, he said. Reality showed something different. We don't fear war. We respect it enough to avoid it when possible and end it quickly when necessary. High Counselor Zexthar, eyes glowing a peaceful blue, added his own signature to the treaty. Perhaps, he acknowledged, peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the wisdom to know when and how to face it. In this, it seems humans have much to teach us. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Reeves stood with Captain Martinez watching, the diverse species mingling with a new understanding. Do you think it will last? Martinez asked quietly. Reeves considered the question carefully. Peace always requires vigilance, but understanding each other better is a good start. She looked out at the stars visible through the grand windows of the council chamber, the same stars that had witnessed humanity's first steps into a larger community, and now its first lessons taught to that community. We came seeking peace. Among the stars, Reeves said. We just had to show them what that really means.